December 2009, the original START treaty expired. In today's round, you have a unique opportunity to renew that treaty and restore the benefits that it provided. In this speech, I'll be going down over Michaela's voting issues, then bringing up 3 voting issues of my own. So let's start off with our argument above the voting issues, talking about how START will be passed if it's good and failed if it's not good. This is simply a naive view of the way Congress works. Congress does not always pass good bills. If it did, we would be a perfect nation with no ills. This is simply ignoring reality. Congress doesn't always act in the correct way. It's unfortunate, but it's true, and it's the way our government works, and the way we as humans work. We need to vote for the START treaty because Congress isn't, because the Senate is failing its roles. Also, this completely drops Evan's argument about political posturing and using the new START treaty as a way to hurt President Obama. They haven't read any evidence analyzing this. They've completely dropped all of our arguments in support of this, and this is simply not a defensible position. Also, I'd like you to extend Evan's argument that we are the Senate in today's debate round, and we are the ones debating about it. We take the position of the Senate. Let's move to her first voting issue of missile defense restricted. Now, she said that missile defense works and that they read evidence from it, from the same source that we did. First of all, this is from an older advocate of missile defense, not the one that we read. And second, and most importantly, this completely neglects Evan's analysis about how all the ballistic missile defense tests were rigged to prove they worked. Clearly, missile defense is so terrible that they have to rig the tests to make it work. In addition, citing the Missile Defense Agency that missile defense works is not a credible source simply because they have an interest in saying so. Whereas saying the Missile Defense Agency says missile defense is not restricted is different because actually, if missile defense was restricted, the agency would have an interest in saying that it was to protect themselves from any restrictions. So let's move down. She said that without missile defense, we lose our nuclear deterrent. We lose our sword and our shield. First of all, this is a completely new argument, not made in the constructives, and not backed up with evidence. I would urge you to reject this argument simply because there is no evidence and no analysis prior to this speech on it. My other response to this is that after the New START Treaty, we will have 1,500 nuclear weapons remaining. Far more than we need to deter any threat, any nuclear threat against the United States. So let's move down to our argument about how President Obama will unilaterally limit the United States missile defenses. First of all, the Missile Defense Agency denies. The people with financial stake here say that their jobs aren't in danger. This is clearly a superior source. Also, you can extend Evan's argument about how this is a non-unique problem, since President Obama wishes to cultivate relations with Russia either way and will restrict the missile defenses. You might not be able to get missile defense from either team, but you can get a safer world, as we're going to see later. Lastly, the issue of negotiation papers. Now, they said that it's a reason for the negative team if they're not going to release negotiation papers. However, as Evan proved in his last speech, releasing them would actually be harmful to future U.S. diplomacy efforts. They didn't answer this, and releasing the negotiation papers would be harmful for future treaties. It's not that the New START Treaty is bad, it's just that we don't release negotiating records to the public. Now let's move to her second voting issue, which is of the legislative process, and how we need to wait for the Senate to take this role upon itself and enact or not enact the treaty. First of all, you can extend my analysis from earlier in this speech about how Congress doesn't do the right thing. They don't always do the right thing. Also, the Congress, they haven't brought up any substantive issues with the treaty. Therefore, since we don't see any problems, it would be simply foolish to rely on our Congress, which has failed us so many times, to get it right this time. We have an opportunity to pass it here, and the START Treaty fails or succeeds with this round. They haven't refuted that. If we vote down the New START Treaty here, we don't get it. Now I'm going to move to my 3 voting issues. The first voting issue is risk of nuclear terrorism reduced. All of these voting issues, in fact, went unaddressed by the negative speaker in her last speech, so we can assume that the negative team concedes all of these issues. The first is nuclear terrorism risk reduced. We preserve cooperation with Russia and the world on nuclear terrorism and reduce that risk. The second voting issue is risk of Afghanistan war failure reduced. We guarantee Russia's continued support in the war in Afghanistan, and we better our ability to win in Afghanistan. And the third and last voting issue, which has gone completely unaddressed throughout the entire round, is that we reduce the likelihood of an accidental or unauthorized nuclear launch leading to a nuclear war between the United States and Russia. If I conceded every argument the negative team brought up here, but only pulled through this voting issue, the affirmative team would still deserve to win. Nuclear war simply outweighs everything. The negative team has not combated this voting issue, this advantage of the affirmative team. We can only assume that they agree. My partner and I would ask you to stand resolved with us that the United States federal government is failing in its duty and that the safety and security of our nation are riding on the New START Treaty. Please vote for the New START Treaty and for national security. Thank you.